How's it going, guys? And welcome to the showdown between the forces of good, led by Dob Plays and Jonton, and it looks like they're going to have the Empire and Dwarves, if I'm not mistaken, and they're going to be facing off against the forces of evil, who are going to be led by myself as the Beastmen and Italian Spartacus as the Warriors of Chaos. So let's jump right into this match, guys, and have some fun. So just kind of a general overarching strategy for the battle. Italian Spartacus is just going to be going heavy with the infantry corps. In the front line, it's Chaos Warriors with great weapons. I think he also has a couple of groups of Chosen with great weapons. So we just decided that each of us are going to handle different roles. So he would be handling the infantry in the front line. You'd be as Prince Sigvald, who did get buffed in the Rise of the Tomb Kings patch, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he's rocking 520. And I think he did get some buffs to his HP. I can't remember the other ones, but front line of Chaos Warriors, Chosen, a couple Forsaken on the flanks to really kind of pressure the back line. And it looks like that's pretty much it for his army. For my army, I'm getting a little bit wild with the Cygors. So Cygors did get nerfed in the Rise of the Tomb Kings, but they're still pretty darn good. I have two Cygors in the back, and I also am hiding Malachor the Dark Omen. He's just lurking in the brushes, just watching and waiting. So I'm literally just going to hide him in the trees, because I figured Empire might have some gooning capabilities. He might have like a Flying Lord or something, and I didn't really want to have to protect him. So I'm literally just going to keep him in the trees and protect him, and just summon Cygors when I can. Also a group of Harpies, a Gorbel who's going to be on guard duty back here, but the rest of my army is mobility. So 4 groups of Centaurs with great weapons, 4 groups of Centaurs with throwing axes, and a couple groups of Poison Hounds. So I'm covering the mobility, the backline harass, and Italian Spartacus is just going to be pushing up right up the middle. So Dob Plays and Jonton actually did the exact same thing. Dob Plays is the Empire. It looks like he has a ton of Outriders. I think he has some Pistoliers, or those are actually Reichsguard, so these guys are going to be heavy duty. On top of that, in the back, he does have some Demogryph Knights, Royal Altar of Griffites, and so he has all the mobility, whereas Jonton of Total Warhammer is just going to be Iron Drakes, Dwarf Warriors, Cannons, all that kind of stuff. So KARL, FRANZ, and who's the Dwarf Lord? Let's find out. Ungrim Iron Fist. Very cool. So without further ado, guys, let's get this show on the road. So I'm just throwing boulders, doing the Cygor thing, throwing them into the front line, just kind of harassing and trying to find openings here. So my throwing axes are going to be kind of harassing, poking at these Outriders, just trying to keep them honest. Dob does have the range advantage at 130 compared to my 70, so I really can't play too heavily with him. He's just going to be able to shoot in there and do some heavy lifting. His cannon is just shooting straight in there and launching my Gorbel into the Shadow Realm, which is always a good time. In the meantime, though, the boulders are coming in, and they've paid their dues. I was throwing at the Grumbling Guard, but then I noticed a more juicy target right here, the Norgrimling's Iron Breakers. Over here, I do have my Centaurs with throwing axes who are just chipping at the edges of the formation, going after these Longbirds with great weapons, hopefully doing some pretty good damage. But Italian Spartacus' front line should be pretty good here. I mean, Chaos Warriors, he has Prince Sigvald, and there comes the boulders from the Cygors, just doing massive heavy lifting. Here we do have a fight on our hands, so I engaged with my Centaurs with great weapons. I think I was able to pick off a group of Pistoliers, or at least break them for a moment. I think they do go off the battlefield, so that was a good pick. But unfortunately, it did cost me this engagement, and I was like, it's just Empire Knights and low-tier troops, so I decided to stay and fight. And Italian Spartacus also has some Chaos Knights over here. He did have one group of Cav, so we decided to commit to this fight. Hopefully, we'll be able to do well, but you can see KARL FRANZ, the Emperor, is coming in. He does have Gal Maraz and all kinds of buffs, and also the Royal Altar of Griffites, so they're definitely just going to just lay a pounding on these guys once they get in there. Probably terror out them, to be honest. We can see a terror out on those guys. In the front, the Chaos Warriors have engaged, and this is what's really going to be scary for the Dwarves. I mean, Longbeards are good and all, but facing off against Chosen, it's like whole nother level. You can see 49, 48, 50 compared to 30, 38, 34. So they have absolutely no chance. Prince Sigvald in the front line, him and his forces have collapsed with these Iron Breakers here. So this is going to be tough. Chaos Warriors will probably get fended off here. Bolthor did get a little bit overextended. It looks like some Iron Drakes are also shooting into the front line, providing some decent armor-piercing damage to these Chosen. On the far side, we do have another battle on our hands. The Chaos Warhounds, as well as some of these Harpies, were able to kind of engage. We do grab these Reichsguard, and it's going to be a bit of an even fight, especially since I have the throwing weapons right here. So the throwing axes from the Centaurs are just going to be throwing in here and getting probably a fair amount of kills. I mean, they have really solid armor piercing, so they're able to pick off a couple of these Reichsguard and give me some pretty good value. But in the back, you can see the Cygor firing squad is just moving forth, just this inexorable force, just having a good old time. Dob Plays is coming around the flank with Outriders, so I decided to attach my Centaurs with throwing axes. They're really good in melee, actually, so especially against Outriders, who are very weak. So they come in here, they get a couple throwing axes, and they're just going to swarm these Outriders. So definitely able to catch them off guard a little bit there. I might be able to push them off the battlefield. It's hard to say. Outriders have 84 speed compared to 95, so I should be able to really punish there. So the Cygors in the back are taking some cannon fire. Malachor and him and his Gorbel are just like, screw this, we're going to hide in the trees till the battle's over. So I'm just hiding there, throwing some boulders in here, but you can see Italian Spartacus has kind of broken through the front line, so some of these Chosen have gotten through, and over here on the far side, the Centaurs are throwing axes, getting some pretty good counter skirmishing, just poking this Runesmith and these Pistoliers, but you can see Dob Plays is able to push off, with the help of some Slayers, I think? Yeah, Dragonback Slayers. He's able to take KARL, the Empire Knights, the Royal Altar of Griffites, and really just push off those two Centaurs with great weapons and those Chaos Knights. But I would say it's fine, because over here it's going pretty well for Italian Spartacus and I. The Poison Hounds and the Centaurs are just, overwhelming the Zintler's Reichsguard, and, it's not as bad of an engagement as that part, side of the battlefield. The center's going very well, though. The Chaos Warriors are just kind of munching through the Longbeards, and you can see some of the Forsaken are starting to leak through here. Chaos is, pushing forth into the forces of good. The Spearmen are going to try and hold, but they won't hold terribly long. And now we finally got into the cookie jar a little bit. So we should be able to get into these Iron Drakes relatively soon, maybe get to this cannon. But I've just been so busy just kind of skirmishing with Dov on the outsides of the battlefield. I haven't really gotten a chance to harass back here yet. But I finally found a bit of an opening. So the Centaurs, the Throwing Axes, were on the outskirts, kind of just, kiting this Runesmith and skirmishing. But there is an opening. So I pull up through the middle, get a little bit of drive-by action on some of these guys, which Centaurs are just such a good unit. I mean, so fast, good armor-piercing values, and solid in melee, too. So we're going to charge in here, probably going to be able to get on this cannon. So I'm just going all in, because these guys are one of the few answers to my Cygors in the back line. And that's something else. Like, even as this battle gets a little bit more prolonged, I have two Cygors in very good health in the back line who are going to be a real force to be reckoned with. I mean, they're almost like 3 giants, like 400 weapon strength apiece. It's very scary. So we're able to shut down the cannon here. It's probably going to get shaken, if not shatter. And on the far side, you can see Malagor the Dark Omen, as well as the Gorbel, and these Centaurs with great weapons are able to overwhelm the Reichsguard. So the Reichsguard are broken off the battlefield, which is really going to open up the floodgates to the side. You can see there's a couple groups of Outriders, but they're just going to get hunted so hard by these Chaos Hounds as well as those Centaurs. So I'm pushing forward right now. Italian Spartacus continuing to hold it down in the middle. There's a Thane here. He's sending some Chaos Warriors after it. Over here, Prince Sigvald is in a very pitched fight. You can see he's fighting the Slayer King, and there's also some Empire Cav, but these Chosen are just, man. Like, if you don't focus fire Chosen and they're left to fight and sustain combat, like, they are just forces of nature, just so darn powerful. And Prince Sigvald, also a pretty good choice. He's very tough to snipe. So Empire and Dwarves who have, like, cannons and thunders and things like that, Sigvald's a good choice, because he's, like, he's just going to sit there and just not die at all. I mean, Ungrim will obviously beat him in a duel, but you can see Ungrim's forces are kind of buckling around him. He has the Runesmith, but the Chosen with great weapons should be able to put a massive dent in Ungrim, and man, Sigvald's actually really laying into him right now. So yeah, you can see one more hit, and the mighty Slayer King might fall to the Prince of Chaos here. So there he goes, and it looks like Ungrim Iron Fist has been slain by Prince Sigvald here. So in the back, the Cygors are kind of repositioning. Balance of Power is still dead even, so a very close fight. The Dwarf Lord has fallen. There's a Runesmith, some Outriders. It looks like there's a decent pocket in the back. There's a very healthy group of Royal Altar of Griffites and KARL FRANZ, who's been kind of just crusading and cleaning up the scraps of the back line. You can see KARL FRANZ was able to chase down those guys, and he's going to get a great charger right here. So the Royal Altar of Griffites coming in to just punish these Warriors of Chaos. I do get a Gorbel coming in, as well as some Centaurs up here, but it looks like they're going to get, I don't know, they terror routed, or I think I actually just pulled them back. But a group of Spearmen coming in to help out the Emperor as well. Looks like this Thane is going to break, but my Centaurs with great weapons also break. But KARL, I think at this point I actually do end up grabbing my Cygors and starting to throw some boulders over here at these Royal Altar of Griffites. I can't quite remember. There are some Pistoliers who've used all of their ammunition and only gotten 11 kills, but it's a very bloody, just knockdown, drag-out fight. The Pistoliers are having to go in melee with their 14, 18 melee attack. Okay, I thought it was 14. They actually have 24 weapon strength in melee, so not terrible, but they do actually charge into these Chaos Warriors. Might be able to break them off. Right here, Prince Sigvald and the boys are just kind of fighting against these Empire Knights. Should be able to finish off that Runesmith. In the back, my Hounds and other troops are just harassing, and you can see the Cygor boulders. Like, these guys have just been, like, an unsung terrors this entire game. Just sitting here, I mean, 59 and 40 kills isn't the most, but they were shooting at pretty expensive troops. So still a very even battle. The balance of power went up in Italian Spartacus in I's favor for just a moment, but it looks like it went back down to the middle, so the tide turning a little bit for the forces of good. But here comes the terror in the night. Another Cygor saved for the fourth quarter is summoned, and the balance of power goes back into our favor. Obviously, a very powerful unit being added to the mix here. Let's go ahead and take a look around. So KARL FRANZ and his Royal Altar of Griffites. This is the last bastion of hope. Potentially something with their anti-large bonus that could tear my guys down. But here come the boulders from the Cygor squad, just decking those cav. Oh no, that's so brutal. And the Cygors are just unloading everything. So some of Italian Spartacus is chosen, taking the Wrath of the Royal Altar of Griffites, as well as these throwing axes. Probably going to get just pushed off here. But the Cygor firing squad, I don't know how these Royal Altar of Griffites are going to take it. There's only 10 of them. Here comes another boulder right into those guys right there. And you can see that guy just gets clipped, losing a model there. The Regoth will help, but ultimately the Cygor attacks just hit so hard. It's just going to decimate a model before the regeneration can even really help them. So here you can see that they're just getting picked off by these 3 Cygors. And KARL FRANZ, in one last desperate charge to take out the Cygor, is going to be leading his troops in. And I don't know how well this is going to go for him. He's trying, but, you know, that's a lot of firepower. Malagor the Dark Omen. Oh, and another one picked off. Those they're just getting decked so hard. And then the Cygor's coming in. Malagor the Dark Omen coming in with the Karate Chop in the back. You can see the Reikland Runefang is going to be providing leadership and some other stats, but really, they're just taking way too much firepower. The Boulder's coming in, just getting decked. Man, and Cygors are still good, guys. I'm telling you, like, I don't know, in 2v2 at least. I haven't tried them too much in 1v1 since our nerfs, but this is just, they're just going bonkers right now. And Italian Spartacus just holding it down in the front line. Prince Sigvald, I didn't have to worry about any pressure in my back line. Italian Spartacus did an outstanding job in the front line with, Sigvald and his Chaos Warriors who are still fighting tooth and nail in just this pitched fight. And Sigvald pretty much impeccable shape. I mean, he is at his healing cap now, but done a very good job. So a couple Centaurs right here, but KARL FRANZ, the Emperor here, unfortunately, is going to have to retreat. Italian Spartacus, it does get a Spirit Leech on him, and the Lifecaster probably out of Winds of Magic, but you could just see the Boulder's just like, get out of here, just throwing rocks at him, and that's probably going to be all she wrote. I don't know what else the Forces of Good can do here. There are some Dragonback Slayers who are going to be coming in, but you can see the last desperate charge of the Dawi, just getting some karate kicks on these Warriors of Chaos, which probably feels pretty good. They're fulfilling their oath, so good for them. They're down to about 40 models right here, so they're going to buckle these Chaos Warriors. The Cygors continuing to just throw their boulders wherever they please. But, yeah, here comes the... I think the Warriors of Chaos are going to rout off, and then the Cygor boulder throws are going to be coming in pretty shortly. So I think that's pretty much it, guys. And well played to Dob Plays and JonTon of Total Brohammer. We actually played 3 games in total, so I'll be putting up the next couple games in the next few days. So if you guys enjoy this, let me know. But yeah, it was definitely very fun, and I feel like in 2v2 that's a really fun way to kind of handle things because, Italian Spartacus, if you look at his army, Chosen 102, 107, those guys beast moded it in the front line, especially against like the Dawi troops. But I really liked kind of like that, diversifying, because a lot of times what ends up happening in 2v2 is you get 2 players playing with regular ladder armies, and like, yeah, it's kind of cool, but I feel like playing to the strengths of each of these is like, in the synergy is what really makes 2v2 engaging. Like, Chaos Infantry are pretty darn powerful. I mean, in Chaos, lacks range. Their mobility is pretty good. Chaos Knights are very strong, but, the Beastmen have fast armor-piercing cav. They can chase down the harassing units of the Beastmen. They can also get the Throwing Axe armor-piercing on the Dwarves. So, like, using the Chaos Infantry is kind of just the spearhead, and then the Beastmen is kind of the, the circling and just pressure from the flanks and the backline harass and the support. I really kind of like that, and I feel like that's pretty fun. That also leads me on to my next point. I wanted to ask you guys, would you guys like to see a 2v2 tournament on the channel? Just get a couple, maybe like, 6 to 8 teams and just hold like a, one-day 2v2 tournament. I think that could be a really fun event. And if you guys would like to see that, let me know. So as far as the army goes, the Centaurs with Throwing Axes did pretty well. I mean, they performed. Cygors were just like terrors on the night, obviously, as you saw, but didn't get the most kills. But really, I mean, these guys did a lot of the grindy work. The Warriors of Chaos in the front just had to munch through the Dwarves and all that stuff, whereas it was mainly Dob and I just like kind of skirmishing with our units on the flanks. And you can see he just had like Outriders, Pistoliers, Reichsguard, just like all mobility. So it was cool seeing KARL too. Like he was really able to pound our flank over there with the Reikland Runefang and some of those other troops. So, but yeah, again, very well played to Italian Spartacus, JonTon, and Dob Plays. Make sure to go check out their channels. There will absolutely be links in the comment section below. So thanks again for watching, guys. Have an excellent night and take care.